Welcome to the LSL Podcast. I'm Derek McKenna and I'm joined as always by Andy McNulty. Andy, how are you today?
Good, Derek. Yeah, eventually got to play a game after 3 or 4 weeks. So I'm a bit happier this weekend, yeah.
You didn't fall foul to the weather this weekend?
No, thank God. It was actually a lovely, crisp afternoon up in Wayside this afternoon. It was brilliant.
Lovely, lovely. So on today's episode number 4 of the podcast, we'll have a roundup of all the big games from the weekend. And we also have a feature interview with former Irish amateur international Ross Carrig, who discusses his time playing in the AUL, the LSL, the Irish amateur international team, and Ross's own battle with mental health and his plans for a future in coaching in the game. So it's a really powerful interview. Looking forward to listening to that in a while. But before we get to that, the transfer window is open, Andy. It's December 1st.
Yeah, my phone still hasn't rang, Derek, but there's always hope.
No, I do like this time of year, and I'm looking forward to. I think it's we listened obviously a couple of episodes back to Dave Lawler explaining the ins and outs of the transfer window. But I always look forward to hearing who's moving where, and it's always an exciting time of the year. Hopefully, obviously from your perspective, you'll be hoping to get a few players in. I know from our perspective over at Carrig as well, we're looking to add one or two more in to bolster us towards the tail end of the season.
Yeah, and from what I've heard, there's a few rumours there's going to be a few big transfers across the league. So just waiting for them to get across the line before we can break any news.
Spill the beans, Andy.
It's not for us now. Just to clarify that, I've just been speaking to a few players across the league, and I think there's going to be a few surprise moves across the divisions.
Lovely. We'll of course keep you updated, keep the listeners updated with any of the big transfers that happen on our next show. Hopefully we'll have heard of one or two. Round up of the big games of the weekend, and Andy, there was if we look back as far as Wednesday evening, we had Metro Cup games. Carrig played Collinstown. Collinstown emerged 2-1 winners there. It was a really good game, exciting game to watch for the neutral, obviously. But there was 2 players sent off in that, one either side. Collinstown took the lead early in the second half after Carrig had missed a penalty, or I should say, the Collinstown keeper Greg Murray had saved the penalty late in the first half, and also saved a brilliant free kick from Jason Beasley there. He was on top form, the Collinstown keeper, and then Collinstown scored a penalty early in the second half and then got a second one in the 95th minute there to progress into the second round. Always a tough game.
Greg's a good keeper there, Derek. Yeah, I had him. I was with him at Bowes a few years ago, and he was good. He's very good. He's a good signing for Collinstown, and glad to see him back playing.
Brilliant. And where did he come from before Collinstown? Because I think it's the first time I've seen him play for them.
I'm actually not too sure now, to be honest with you. It's been a few years since I was at Bowes, so he was coming through as a young lad there, and he got a good few games near the end of the season. I think it was 2012, and yeah, really good prospect at the time. I'm not too sure where he's been in between, but a really, really good signing for Collinstown. He'll be a big player for them.
Definitely, he was hugely impressive and man of the match on the night, I think. But again, they're always great fixtures between Collinstown and Carrig. Obviously, disappointing from our perspective to lose the game, but best of luck to Collinstown in the next round. Other Metro Cup games: Dublin University FC beat Ratho Tarps 2-1. Tulka Rovers had a good win against Greystones United. Correct me if I'm wrong here, Andy. Are Tulka division below Greystones? I think they are.
I would say, off the top of my head, I think you're right. I don't know for certain. You put me on the spot there. Apologies.
Yeah, I'll let you check that while I'm going down through the results. I'm nearly certain on that, but as I say, it's a good win for Tulka. Tulka are in the Senior 1A at the moment. Struggled for the last couple of seasons, but a good win against Greystones in the Metro Cup there. There was another kind of lower division team playing against the higher division, in the sense that St. Kevin's boys were playing against Swords Celtic. St. Kevin's from the Senior 1B playing against Swords Celtic from the Senior 1, I believe. That finished 1-1, and Swords Celtic emerged 4-3 on penalties after extra time. Glebe North had a big win against Hartstown Hunstown. 9-1 that game finished, and which was quite a surprising result. Hartstown have been having a good season in the Senior 1B, but Glebe North are flying at the moment. Adam Foley out there is involved, and I know they've been having some really, really good results lately. So really big win posted there. Andy, have you found out if Greystones are above?
Yeah, they're in Senior 1, yeah.
Yeah, I kind of thought that. As I said, a big win for Talca Rovers in that sense. They're going well at the moment. What other results have we got there in the Metro Cup? Is there any that stood out for you, Andy?
There was, obviously, Liffey's away to the Orchard was a big result. It was obviously tough game there, 3-2 to Liffey's. Aaron Montgomery, Aidan Roach, and Jay Roach with the winner. And according to their Twitter page, the very first goal for the club. So obviously it's a nice one for him. Pats was a good win. Another Ringsend side away to Fairhouse Clover Sacred Heart.
But that's
Broadford was a bit.
And I don't mean to be disrespectful to Pat CY, but again, I probably harping on about it a bit. Sacred Heart Fairhouse Clover are having a really, really good season. They drew with Liffey's out in Liffey's in the Intermediate Cup last week. I think they would have been fancied at home to Pat CY. What do you think yourself?
Yeah, possibly. Like Hearts are in a good vein of form at the moment, I suppose. So, look, I don't know. There could have been changes made. I'm not too sure. With the cup, they've played a lot of league games and stuff like that. So, not too sure. But yeah, I suppose to me, it's probably one of the standout fixtures in the competition so far. You know, it's a tough game between the two of them. So yeah, look, it's still there's still plenty of games to play in this competition, though. That's the only thing.
Definitely. Other kind of notable results there. Newtown Rangers had a 2-1 win away to Leakslip. Maynooth University Town beat Portmarnock 2-0. Big result actually was Broadford Rovers from the Senior 1B. And probably fair to say struggling in the Senior 1B, beat Inchicore Athletic at home. And I seen a few posts on Twitter around that one that Inchicore were saying that it was just one of those nights. They literally had a gazillion of chances and just couldn't put them away. And Broadford won it 2-1 in the end. So another kind of surprise result there. Crumlin had a good win away to Skerrystown 2-1. UCD beat Temple Oak 2-0, and then Lucan beat Airfield 5-0 today. And I'll leave the last result to you, Andy. So obviously you're happy you got a game in today.
Yeah, we actually played on Wayside Astro up there in Jackson Park this afternoon. It was, as I said earlier on, it was a good crisp afternoon. It was a good game of football. We probably should have beat them more than 1-0 if I'm being perfectly honest with you. But saying that, how mad football is, they hit the bar late on and had a really good shout for a penalty, probably with 5 minutes to go. So they'd probably count themselves lucky after we maybe should have scored 3 or 4. And made it a handy enough afternoon for us. But the way we're doing it at the moment, we like to do it the hard way.
Who was the standout player for yourselves today, Andy?
Look, Aaron Robinson, our captain in the middle of the park, is having a fantastic season. I have to say, like, at any opportunity, I do like to mention him, because he's sort of the engine at the moment for us. We're not as clinical going forward, but he keeps the boys on their toes. And in fairness, we're doing all right. We're creating chances, but unfortunately, we just need that little bit more clinical in front of goal. And I think games will be a little bit more comfortable for us. But we'll still take a win. 1-0 away to Wayside is always a tough place to go.
And of course, when you add all them players in the transfer window, things will change.
Yeah, exactly. Hopefully we get a goal scorer.
Yeah, you're not giving away anything. Right, so looking outside of the Metro Cup, there was obviously a lot of kind of league games, probably a few more league and cup games on this weekend. It seems like the weather has eased up a little bit, so I know there was still a lot of games called off, but it seems like compared to last week, there was a lot more games on this week.
I think a lot of the games were on Astros, or there was just people a little bit more prepared for the weather. So whether they had to change pitches or book Astros or whatever, I think there was a game on every night this week. So that's good. Obviously, you want to see games being played, and yeah, the weather hasn't been as constantly raining as it was the last. It just feels like it's been raining now for probably 6 weeks straight,
Yeah.
and it just kind of compounds it when you can't play the football, because that's all we sort of that's what we look forward to on our Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So it's good to see games getting back on.
What other notable games stood out for you over the weekend? If we're looking towards the leagues.
Yeah, just on just a couple of results that jumped out for me. Francisco top with a win away to Greystones in 1B, Major 1B Saturday. A huge result for Mark Celtic in Division 3 Saturday. They go second now. They do have an awful lot more games than the teams around them played, but like points on the board, I suppose their manager will be saying. Um, there was a 9-goal thriller in Malahide. Knockmitten beat them 5-4. That was in 3A Saturday. Coming on to Sunday, obviously a big result for Malahide at home to
Huge
Bangor
result.
GG. Yeah, so it was a big result. I threw out a little tweet, which a few people reacted to, but my point was that Malahide are definitely a team that need to be taken seriously in this division now. This season, we don't have them all that often, but we tend to every few years have a crazy division on a Sunday where um, it just nobody wants to go and win it.
Yeah, yeah.
So people are losing and drawing and dropping points all over the place. Bangor have had a really good start. Don't get me wrong, but they'll be disappointed with that result considering they were top of the table. But yeah, it was a big result for Malahide. They have a great team there.
I seen obviously you put the tweet out there saying that people should probably respect Malahide a little bit more and after kind of a result like that, and you said obviously a few people bit on that tweet. From your perspective, are Malahide not getting the respect they deserve in terms of genuine title contenders?
Well, like, look, managers that go in, they'll know what to expect from them. They don't travel well. That's pretty much every Malahide team that I've ever faced. They struggle on the road. They lose games that they shouldn't, and then they win games against the bigger teams or the bigger so-called teams. But just in this season and the way things are sort of developing, they just seem to be ticking along nicely under the radar. People are mentioning other teams ahead of Malahide, and that was just more my point more than anything. It wasn't that I'm saying they're going to go and win the league. I'm not saying that they're going to go and be world beaters or anything. My point was that I think anyone within the top 6 or 7 teams, I wouldn't write anyone off this season. To be perfectly honest with you, all you need is a runner, maybe 3 or 4 or 5 wins, and you could all of a sudden really like make a gap at the top of the league there.
Big time. Um, the other result in the senior division this weekend, Cleicester won, Ballymun won. Cleicester at home, will they be disappointed not to take 3 points there?
This is what I mean, Derek. Results like that, I would have banked on Cleicester picking up all 3 points there, and like Ballymun haven't had the greatest of starts. I've seen them a couple of times. They haven't really impressed me in what they've produced in those games. But again, they're picking up a valuable point there that could go a long way for them in the relegation battle with the teams down the bottom.
Sure. Senior one Sunday, there was a couple of big games. Obviously, Home Farm had a good win against Glenville, 1-0, and then probably another kind of big result. I'm not sure what evening this was on. St. Patsy Way in Kilmanagh. Was that last Wednesday evening, I think? But it was a 3-3
Yeah, Wednesday or
draw there.
Thursday, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was obviously a big result. We've spoke about Kilmanagh in the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, I think we've maybe put the mockers on them in the last couple of weeks. I think I've put
Commentator
mockers
scores.
on a couple. I think, yeah, there's a few managers when I'm bumping into them saying, "Will you stop mentioning me on the podcast because we're getting beaten?" But yeah, Kilmanagh again, they're unbeaten in 8. So look, it'll be disappointing for them, but there's plenty of positives to take from it as well.
Definitely. And then moving into the senior 1B, St. Francis had a huge win against Pegasus, 5-0. I think that's their 10 goals in 2 games. Their previous one was a 5-1 victory. 4 wins on the trot for St. Francis. And moving steadily up the table. The senior 1B table, obviously I have an interest in it. Kilbarrack are at the top of the table. But the kind of the ones who are looking likely to kind of move up the table and use their games in hand to get up towards the top end seems to change every week. So a couple of weeks ago, I wasn't even thinking about St. Francis, but they've won a few on the trot now. And if they win their games in hand, they're only 2 points behind Kilbarrack. Whereas a few weeks ago, it was potentially Airfield or Ardmore. So really good from a St. Francis perspective. That they're after stringing a few wins on the trot together there. Cardiff had a really good result at home to Mid Sutton Sports Link. I mentioned it last week. I was hugely impressed with Cardiff when we beat them the previous week, but they showed a lot in that game, and they had a big result 3-3 against Mid Sutton. Mid Sutton obviously will be disappointed with the draw, but they're 6 unbeaten as well, and they're other kind of potential ones who Kilbarrack need to kind of watch, as if they use their games in hand, they'll only be a few points behind. Um, any other big games that we may have missed there, Andy?
No. The last one I have on my list is just from Major One Sunday. Dingle United beat Cabinteely 6-4, so I think that keeps a promotion push on for Dingle. So that's pretty much it. From a league perspective, I know we're going to touch on the FAI Junior. And yeah, the FAI Junior, there's a bit of controversy again.
There is
And
again.
there was a good few shock results as well, I think, for LSL teams.
Yeah, definitely. Before we touch on the FAI Junior, I'm going to keep on banging this drum. The way we pull together these results every week is by looking at the LSL live score hashtag. A lot of these results didn't come from that source, so it takes us a long time to go looking for results and trying to get goal scorers, etc. So if you're at a game, if you belong to a club, um, just update the score using the LSL live score hashtag. It doesn't have to be blow by blow. It can be just the results at the end of the game. And if you know the goal scorers, all the more better for that. The FAI Junior, I mentioned it. A few big results I think it was the fourth round. So we're in the fifth round of the FAI Junior, but there was still a few fourth round games still to be played. Sheriff YC, former multiple champions, overcame Kilmore 1-0 down in Clontarf the other night. So that was a tight kind of North Dublin derby there. Today, Valeview Shankill overcame Tally United 2-1. I'm sure that somebody sent me on the scores of that, and I can't find them at the moment. But maybe I'll find them in a few minutes. Let me see. Here we are. So the goal scorers in that game were Paul Walsh and Luke Rowe for Valeview Shankill. So a good result there for them to go through to the next round. Usher had a big 6-0 win today up at Cockhill Celtic. So that's never easy going up to Donegal. The long journey up there, but they did it was a 7-0 win. I think Bomber Meehan got 2, Jordan Buckley got 1, Calvin Douglas got 1, Leroy Staunton got 1, and Johnny Long got 2. So 7-0, massive win away from home there. What else was there in the FAI Junior? Anyone's that stood out for you, Andy?
Yeah, well, Kevin's went down to Killarney and were beaten 4-1.
Yeah, disappointing result.
Yeah, so that would be a disappointing result for them. Obviously, Crumlin again, very strong Saturday side. I think we mention them every week, but and rightly so. They're a fine Saturday team there, and they've comfortably gone past Carr Park 4-0. So then there was a cracker of a game down in Coona, Finglish United 4-all, but eventually beaten then on penalties. So very disappointing. Some of those LSL teams have gone out, but look, there's still really, really strong LSL teams in the cup. So hopefully they can continue to progress through it.
Did you touch on the Liffey Wanderers one there, or did we miss that one?
No, sorry, I missed that one. Yeah, that's a big.
Yeah, well, Liffey Wanderers obviously former winners in recent years. They went out 1-0 loss to Balscadden, and then kind of a big loss as well for Transport, who lost 8-0 to Trim Celtic of the Meath League. So a kind of mixed bag of results for the LSL clubs, but we'll see how they progress now when we go into the latter stages of the draw, and of course we'll keep you updated with that. Obviously, there was other big news which you alluded to, and in the FAI Junior Cup, it seems to be getting a bit farcical at this stage. That there's always an issue. It's that kind of such a big competition. I'm sure it's a difficult to run competition, but there always seems to be issues. And another one was thrown up this weekend in the game between VEC and Rosemount Mulvey. Talk us through what happened there, Andy.
Yeah, so look, I've just been following this on social media, Derek. I don't really I have a few contacts within Rosemount, but I reached out to a couple of them, and eventually a statement came out, which I'm probably just better off reading out, just very quickly. So, um, this is an official statement from Rosemount Mulvey Football Club. So, Rosemount Mulvey are very disappointed that our FAI Junior Cup game that was due to take place today, which was Saturday against VC, was called off. This fixture was due to take place on Saturday the 9th when VC were drawn at home. Rosemount Mulvey were asked to play the away fixture on Saturday the 9th, 3 hours later than the scheduled time, on a non-FAI approved all-weather pitch, as VEC was unplayable. At the time, the FAI Junior Council explained that we had to be flexible in regards to kick-off times, pitches to which we adhere to. On arrival, it was clear that the FAI all-weather pitch was not suitable in size, to which the referee agreed not to play the game. As a result, Rosemount Mulvey got home advantage for the fourth round tie, which was due to be played on Saturday the 30th. Rosemount pitches were called off, as were the vast majority of pitches across Dublin, unplayable, and we secured an FAI approved all weather pitch in St Benilda's College in Stillorgan for a 4 p.m. kickoff. Thanks to the Junior Council, who agreed to sponsor us the cost of the pitch, and furthermore the referee, who agreed to change the time to 4 p.m. without issue. It was clear to us that VEC did not intend to fulfill today's fixture at St. Benilda's College. We are very disappointed with the FAI Junior Council, due to that it was called off due to no agreement between clubs. So that's in inverted commas. So obviously that's the official line from the FAI Junior Council. We feel let down by the FAI Junior Council in this case. We look forward to raising important questions in due course. So again, more controversy in relation to this competition, Derek. I don't know where it just seems to be every year, and I'd say people are pulling their hair out. I'd say the FAI are pulling their hair out, because it just seems to be every single year that there's something about this competition.
I think, and again, I'm only following this through social media like yourself, but from what I can gather, and I could be wrong on this, but from what I can gather, the first game, like you said, when it was moved to a kind of a nine-a-side Astro pitch, and the referee agreed that, look, that wasn't suitable for an FAI Junior Cup game, so it was called off. The other kind of interesting thing that happened on Saturday was VEC booked their own Astro pitch over in, I think it might have been IT Blanchardstown. They got togged out. They were waiting on the pitch for Rosemount Mulvey, but Rosemount Mulvey had home advantage. So I don't know what was going on in the thinking there from the VEC side, but they had booked their own Astro pitch and got togged out, and had sent words to Rosemount. They were waiting for them at the pitch, which was a bit farcical in itself. But
Yeah,
I was watching this unfold on social media on Saturday with kind of dropped jaw and kind of thinking what is going on here. It's another year where problems are arising in the FAI Junior, and as I said, it must be a difficult competition to run, because there's so many teams involved in it and so many matches going on. But like you say, the FAI must be scratching their heads at the moment, wondering what's going on.
yeah. I just think again, it's probably just someone's got the wrong end of the stick somewhere, because you can't have two such opposing opinions on what should have done, because you have Rosemount, who are ready to play in Benilda's, and you've got VEC, who are allegedly kitted out in Blanchardstown.
Yeah.
So there's someone's got the wrong end of the stick somewhere, and I'm just hoping that it kind of dies down. Now, in fairness, Rosemount were quite vocal about it, so they seem to be fairly confident that they're in the right. So just hopefully we can get the game played, and it's a well contested game, and the best team goes through, and hopefully that's the end of the FAI Junior conversation for the rest of the year.
Yeah, well, I think it seems, looking in from the outside, that Rosemount Mulvey are in the right. They organised the pitch. The game was supposed to be played on Saturday. They had arranged an Astro pitch for it. That was a FAI approved Astro pitch. So why VEC didn't show up to the game, who knows? And then I think I can understand Rosemount Mulvey being disappointed with the FAI, in the sense that if the team didn't show up to play them at 4 p.m. on Saturday, surely they forfeited the game. But because the
Well,
FAI
yeah,
line
that's a
is
good
that
point. Yeah,
the FAI line is that the teams didn't agree between themselves. Um, you know, uh,
yeah.
look, I'm sure we'll hear more about it over the coming weeks, and we'll keep the listeners updated about what's happening there.
Yep.
Definitely. Right, there was one more thing before we finish up on the FEI Junior. Oh, sorry, on the we have a little competition to run, Andy, do we?
Yeah, so a big thanks to our colleagues or our friends over in Graphics 51. They've actually put on a €100 voucher for the listeners of the podcast. So thanks very much to the guys. You can catch them out at graphics_51 on Twitter. They're obviously doing match day cards and clips for games for all amateur teams across the country. And you have actually, you're starting to see more and more of them now being used, which is great. So a big thanks to the guys over at Graphics 51, and hopefully if we can get a couple of winners from this competition, or we're going to try and run competitions over the next few episodes. So best of luck to everybody, and to be in with a chance to win it, all you have to do is tomorrow morning we're going to release this podcast at 9 a.m. That'll be Monday morning, the 2nd of December. The LSL Twitter page are going to release the links. All you have to do is retweet our podcast. So that's all you have to do to be in with a chance. So if you can do that, then we'll obviously announce the winner. We're going to let that run until maybe Sunday afternoon. We'll do the draw and we'll announce it on next week's podcast.
Perfect. So all they need to do, and just to be clear on this, because I know myself and yourself, Andy, share the links to the podcast. It has to be on the LSL official Twitter handle, and if you retweet it from there, you're in with a chance to win the €100 voucher.
That's correct.
Excellent. So yeah, we'll choose the winner on that next Sunday, and we'll announce it on our next episode of the podcast. Next up, Andy, we have an interview with, like I mentioned, former Irish amateur international Ross Carrig. It's a really powerful interview, I feel. Ross talks about his playing career, and as he's kind of moved towards the end of his playing career and moving into coaching, but he also talks and opens up a lot about his own battle and struggles with mental health during his playing career, and it's a really, really interesting interview. So we'll have a listen to that now, and we'll touch on it when we come back. Ross Carrig, welcome to the LSL podcast. Ross, when I met you about a week or two ago, I was saying to you that you had more clubs than Tiger Woods. You corrected me and said that I think you had around 8. I think was the final number. Talk me through the clubs that you've played for during your career.
No, fortunately, for asking me on. He's doing great work there at the moment on it. Clubs wise, actually, when I counted them up, I've only 7. Well, up
7.
to date, 7. So yeah, no, I've started off at Valley.
Valley Park.
I moved. Yeah, Valley Park. I did a couple of seasons there. I think we went from Rivermount Boys. I only started playing with Rivermount when I was 16, going on 17. I'd never played soccer until that age.
Oh, right.
Yeah, but I always played the GA. Living in Ballymun, it was always Gaelic and preferred sport and soccer. And I started working in Crazy Price, and a friend of mine that worked with me at the time played with Rivermount. So he asked me down one time, and I went down. And that's how I started playing, and moved from there with Anto Devlin to Valley Park. And set up the senior side, and I think it was AUL, you might remember as well. I think it's C1 years ago would have been, and then it was C, B, A. I think that's where the senior divisions went. That's where we started off. We went promotion all the way up to Premier A. Then we moved to Ballymun. When we went to Premier A, I moved to Ballymun. It's probably one of the biggest regrets I probably have of moving that quick. I shouldn't have done it. It's probably one of the big things I have about moving clubs is I left too soon. I shouldn't have gone at that time. I did, and spent 2 years there at Ballymun. Did well, but they were going through transition. A lot of different managers, a lot of lads were retiring at that stage. And then I moved on to Colester pretty quick after 2 years, I think, with Ballymun. And then I spent about 6-7 years there. So it was a good time there, and everything we won everything there as well. So it was enjoyable. Then I moved to Kevin's, and then I moved to Crumlin and then on to Moctus, then Moctus to Airfield. So that's where.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 was Airfield was the final one. So you've finally hung up the boots this season, yeah?
No, I wouldn't say I've finally hung up. Look, things happened recently. I'll say how it is. Probably the fittest I've ever felt in terms of being 37, playing 20 years at that top level. It is, but I think the bad injury that I got 3 years ago, so I thought it would have killed me off. I had an awful time with it, but I came back, signed for Airfield last January, did a couple of months with them, started off the season, was flying. Things happened there. Grand, I had left then, I was doing a bit of coaching as well, so there was a lot that happened, but it was probably the fittest I've ever felt in probably about 4 or 5 years. It's probably this season because of a good pre-season behind me, with a good, in terms of after having the injury, coming back from it, after having the blood clot, getting injured again with it, and just constantly injured with that injury. It was just a nightmare. I thought I'd never go back, but I was delighted to get back. I felt I was flying fit. So, no, I wouldn't say I've hung up my boots. I did a bit with the Classic 45s, enjoyed it. Just to keep myself ticking over after I finished with Airfield at the end of the season. Keep the fitness up. And I think that's what steadied me at the start when I started off with Airfield. I felt really, really good. Still feel good. Look, we'll see what happens. Transfer window's open now. And just see what happens. I had a few offers and stuff like that down. We've been now down coaching with Brian and Carrig asked me down. Join it down there. So, look, see what happens.
Yeah, and you've obviously had a hugely successful playing career. Can you remember all of the trophies that you've won as a player?
I'd say I can remember. Look, I'd say I've won everything except for the Metro.
Right.
I played in the final of that, but Talca Bears 2-1. I think it was in Talca. So I've won every single thing in Saudi AOL and in the Leinster Senior League. I've won everything, and then on top of that, the Tom Hands, and then the ones you go up to representing the North. All them, I take them as trophies.
Yeah,
as part of what I won. I played in the European Championship final, got to another one. So I was involved in 2 European finals. I don't think many people can say that. It has that sort of thing. But look back, if you came out to my house now, you wouldn't see a medal out. So that's the way I have been. I'll take them out when I'm finished. They're in a plastic container underneath the stairs.
Right, yeah.
I've a lovely cabinet ready to go, and I don't have anything out in my house got to do with medals.
And you'll only put them out once you finally hang up the boots.
Yeah, I think I'd be ready then to put them out and put them in a nice cabinet with some of the junior the FEI hats and the Ireland hats. So I think at time, I think I've been that driven. I just keep putting them to the side and going, grand, next one.
Yeah. And what would you say was the proudest moment, or let's say the biggest achievement that you had during the playing career?
I'd say it's the first time Derek could put on the Ireland jersey. Has to be.
Right.
I think club stuff, you'll always have a chance once you play with the top teams of winning stuff. They'll always have, when you're playing, when I played with Leicester, Crumlin, them kind of teams, you're always going to have a chance of winning cups. But when you play for Ireland, I didn't get it the first time I was called in. I was only with Leicester a couple of months and I got called in. I never really knew much about it because my background was always GAA. Never played soccer really. So I didn't know back then it was that big. And then when I went into it, I remember my first cap was in Scotland. My mum and my uncle flew over and all for it. I got 15 minutes, 20 minutes, I think. I'd say that was the proudest moment. It had to be the first one. It was probably the biggest achievement. It was probably playing in the European finals in Portugal. I'd say that was probably my biggest achievement. Still very young, but playing in that with the likes of players that were around. You'll never experience anything like that. You're playing in stadiums like Braga Stadium at 35-degree heat in a final, and you have all your family there watching. That was, I'd say, the biggest achievement I've had.
And have you counted up how many international caps you had? Obviously, I know you've played for the June.
58.
58 in total?
Yeah, 58.
Excellent achievement. And obviously, you've played across the AUL and the LSL for a number of different clubs, obviously. Would you be able to pick out a period of that time, like you said, you're playing nearly 20 years or so, where you were enjoying your football the most?
I'd have to say when I moved to Leicester in the AOL, I think that's when I enjoyed my football. Really, it was just a club that I loved. Looking back, you miss it. Lads even still talk about it to this day. Even the lads when I was down playing with the 35 still talk about it. That's when I played the best football. And then when I switched, I think I got into a little bit of a rut. I remember actually having this conversation with you, Derry, when you were doing the junior soccer part about, I'd say about 6 years ago, would it have been, when I switched over. And I remember getting the backlash over. Absolutely, I got an awful backlash over it. And certain managers and certain chairmen of certain clubs, I won't go into names, but I'll never forget it, had lambasted me on social media because of what I had said and giving out my point of what was going to come. That's when I felt like, hold on a minute, like, why should I'm just giving my opinion, and I got lambasted. And some of them clubs now are in the Leinster Senior League.
Sure. And you know, what have you found? I do remember having that conversation 2 years ago, and you were looking forward to making that move from the AUL over to the Leinster Senior League. Now that you can look back on the period of time that you had in the AUL, and then the time you had in the Leinster Senior League, or still having the Leinster Senior League, what do you see as the major differences between the two?
I'd say football standard. My game would be always like trying to play from the back. Just suiting me down to the ground going Leinster Senior League. It was all football. With the AOL and playing the FA Junior, you're toe to toe for 90 minutes and bustling with good centre forwards like John O'Rourke, and just going to war. Where Leinster Senior League is all football. Tactically, tactics and everything else in Leinster Senior League different to the AOL is miles ahead. And I just found, even when I had joined, I remember Crumlin United, I always never forget it. Played Tolkien in the first game, played Wayside in the midweek in the second game, and Martin Hopkins said to me in the third game, I'm going to leave you out. You're not fit enough.
Right.
That's what he told me out straight. I thought I was fit enough. I wasn't. I had to work hard to get back into the team. It took me 4 or 5 games to get back into it. Once I got into it, I didn't look back. But I had to do that extra stuff to get into that, to get up to that level. I could feel the pace of it. The pace of it was electric. And it still is. To this day, it still is. I'm 37. Yeah, I'd say I'd be able to play top league still, but I'd never had pace. I wasn't blessed with pace. It was more in my mind, and my position sense got me out of playing in that position. But I'd say I'd be able to do a job for someone, but the pace of it, last 90 minutes and everything else, it's frightening quick. I watched an awful lot of games now recently, and it's still even as quick. The likes of Malahide, Moctas, Crumlin. It's just frightening. It really is frightening. I think you probably be able to say a bit on it as well, because you were that long around the AOL and seeing the standard of now being in the Leinster Senior League. From the reporter's point of view, that you watched a lot of games, you would see that standard. Anyone would. I think that's why a lot of clubs jumped.
Yeah, and I think obviously it's impossible to make that comparison now, because all of those clubs have essentially moved over to the Leinster Senior League now.
Yeah.
So there's not a lot left there. So, but I hear where you're coming from in the sense that you would think that the Leinster Senior League games were always more tactically aware, is what I would always have noticed back in those days, and even now when you look up the top divisions, all of the clubs are very tactically aware, as opposed to that 90 minutes of kind of battering each other that you would have seen in the past in the AUL. The other question I wanted to ask you as well around the clubs that you've played for. You've played under some really, really good managers, obviously, the likes of Joey Graydon, Jerry Smith, Martin Loughran. And I don't want to kind of put you on the spot, but which one did you perhaps enjoy playing under the most, or which one offered different things in terms of the different managers you played under?
I think the three that you mentioned are old-fashioned managers in terms of taking out, excuse the language, bullshit off players.
Yeah.
Didn't take any egos, but they're just excellent in their own way. Where if I had to pick one, I played under Martin for 2 years, but I know Martin for a long time. I've watched him. But it'd have to be Joey, because I played with him 6-7 years. It's just the way he went about it. he was just really, really strong character. He took no crap, didn't know how to coach. He won't mind me saying that. When he had to take training, when Eddie wasn't there, we used to always go, oh, gee, Mac. It was awful. It's been awful. Even Martin Lockwood, I don't even think he had a badge. That's how bad it was. But in terms of their man management, in terms of what they got out of the team, Leicester wasn't the best team football-wise, but what they had and what we had and what I enjoyed most was just 100%. I remember someone commented on it saying, you just didn't let people breathe. That's what the squad was about. Just what he got out of the squad. The same way Martin does it. Joey did it every year, brought new players in. He brought the year I went, he brought me, Lacey, and a chap called OC. And just add to the squad. Martin Loughlin does it every year. It's just that natural of old school management. I can't put my finger on it, but it's just something that I really enjoyed. But I always step back and I watch them. I watch how these people work, and maybe when I take up management or coaching, that I can take something from them. And I took an awful lot from them. Same with Jerry Smith. These lads just stood in the background. Let the other lads do the coaching. I just watched everything. I weren't afraid to make big decisions. And they didn't care. They weren't going to pull you the day before or ring you the way things are now and say, I'm leaving out of a cup final tomorrow. They just said it on the day. You get on with it. The respect I have for them three that you mentioned, and the other managers, but them three in particular, is massive. And if you don't learn off them kind of people that you've been around, is huge. Like the coaches I've been around is Paul Martin, Jerry Davis, Mark Kennedy, top coaches. And I played under all these people and learned from them. I used to always go back. I actually had me coaching book downstairs. I used to always write down drills these lads were doing. Just for time, I always knew you're not going to play for the rest of your life, but I always had in the back of my mind watching this stuff that was going on. And it was a joy. If I had to pick one, it would be Joey, because I played so long under him. But just what he did. But also, it was just outside of football, what he was as a man. He was always there for you. You could go to him. There was no, people took him as strict, but outside of a man, come and have a cup of tea with you and explain to you situations. I remember I had to go to meet him to tell him I wasn't going with Leicester to Leinster Senior League. And I felt sick, awfully sick. And this is the words that came out of his mouth. He told me he wasn't going to wish me good luck because he didn't like Kevin's and I was going there. That's being totally honest. He didn't. And he actually, the words out of Joey's mouth was, at that time, I remember face to face from him, he says, the AOL will everybody be leaving the AOL in a couple of years. That's what he said.
And he wasn't wrong.
Yeah. He wasn't wrong. He was right. And I told him, no, it'll be all right. I was more thinking Irish, the junior setup, if I go in Senior League, I'm not going to get into that. And I was thinking about myself. I've always thought about myself, and no problem saying that. But I think I created an addiction for myself when I joined Valley and I joined Ballymun. I started getting this thing for winning. And it's took me a long time to start push it to the side and not worry about winning, where I was addicted to football. That was my addiction. That I just couldn't get it out of my system. I was putting football first. And I know I started to say, but my wife was no problem with me saying, I was putting football first, my job next, and then my wife and my daughter after that. When I look back, I was wrong now because I'm older, a bit more grown up. But back then, I just took things just happened really quick with Leicester and the Irish team. I just got a book for it. I couldn't get out of that addiction. When people talk about addiction and gambling, drugs, that's what my addiction was. I did everything I could to make sure I stayed in them teams. The Ireland team, if I had to train, I was training 5 days a week just to keep me that ticking over, to make sure I was right, eating the right stuff, doing the right things, not going on family holidays, not going to that. I made an awful lot of sacrifices, but in the long run, when it blew up about 5 years, the family had enough, because of what I did. In terms of, my achievements are there, but it affected my family life. It really did. I missed 7 years on the trot of anniversaries, or 7 years on the trot anniversaries. I missed my daughter's birthdays because I was away all the time. Couldn't go on family holidays because we were away with the Irish team. Every year we were away with the Irish team, whether it was quadrangular, European Championships. 2 weeks, couldn't get any more time off work. Couldn't go away on a holiday. That's where, that's where the other side of it is, where it hurts. We're saying we shouldn't have been. We're more mellow now, and we lose, go on and go home.
And how have you found that balance, Ross, in terms of like moving from that addiction to winning and kind of, like you say, kind of mellowing out in your older years and not having that? How have you found that balance?
I think it's more you sort of have to go through something, Derek, in terms of, you have to go to a breaking point for you to realise actually there's more to life than football. I'm an amateur player. People out there that struggle and everything else, but people out there that are getting like Premiership players in waves, they're still struggling. Some people can't deal with it. The time I just had the blinkers on, I didn't care about anyone else. That's been totally brutally honest. I remember, times when you just struggle, but the balance now, I just find, I think, more older, the more I opened up to people about my life in general and stuff like that. Like, you have to, and I think that's why, like, I can't really put a point on it, but you just have to realise, my son came along 5 years ago. And I think because I knew I missed out so much of my daughter, she's 15, like, I wasn't going to let this other opportunity pass me by. I couldn't. So I had to switch her up. I had to do everything I could to switch her up. And I think I have, in a way, of getting the balance right, as you said. Because at the end of the day, it's amateur football. That's what it is. For 15 of them years, 15 them years, I was addicted to it. I couldn't stop. I remember even getting in bad injury in a Clesta game where I smacked faces with John O'Rourke and Terry Corby with a blade on the brain. My wife woke up in Beaumont Hospital with a broken jaw, broken eye socket. And I remember being transferred then over to James's for operations, and the chap wouldn't operate on me eye socket on my jaw, and we were due to go away to Sardinia 2 weeks later with the Irish team for a training camp. And all I was worried about was, can I go on this trip? Where do I get a mask? And that affected my whole family. And I remember I went and got a mask. We were playing Ballymun in the semi-finals in Nivea. I told you I was playing. And my mum turned up, I remember in the AOL, and started shouting at me from the pitch because I had a mask on. She told me to get off the pitch. That's how bad it was. She roared and screamed at me, and she told me to get off the pitch. Like,
and did you listen?
No. No.
Oh God! A big focus nowadays, Ross, is on mental health, and I think when I spoke to you before, you mentioned around having an injury, and I think it was a few years ago when you were playing for Moctus, and you struggled around that time yourself around your own kind of mental health. What advice would you give to players nowadays who may be struggling?
Yeah, I think it's a huge thing now. Mental health, it's massive. It means an awful lot to me. Maybe I should have spoken up sooner. Few people do know about it. You see people speaking up, and now you take courage for it. You see Gary Dempsey doing it the weekend, Ian Dunbell. It takes an awful lot of courage. But I think us as a sport, especially within sport, because a lot of people like myself don't know nothing else without soccer. We don't. And I think Leinster Senior League do a great job. Use commented on a lot of the podcast, a few other people on the other podcast, and we put up videos and everything. But we need to do more. Leinster Senior League could take this and run with it. I think clubs need to do more, because I've been around in every dressing room, every ground, and there's not enough, what would you call it? I wouldn't say advertisement. There's not enough, little sign in the dressing room for other people that are struggling to actually go, okay, yeah, I think we need to push it a bit more out and get clubs more aware of it so we can help people. I'd love to help people, as you said. I think mine hit, I've always said dealt with. I think mine hit after about 5 years ago. I think I just, the young lad came along, started up a new job, left Crumlin. I didn't play in the European final. And there's a number of issues over that, and I just couldn't deal with it. I couldn't cope with the pressure of starting a business, and took off too quick because everyone knew me. I couldn't cope with it. It was really, really hard. I couldn't cope with a new child. I couldn't cope with rejection, if you know what I mean, by playing in the European Championship qualifiers, flying, playing with Crumlin that year, playing the Aviva Stadium just a couple of weeks before that, won an Intermediate Cup, did a double, won the Charlie Cup. That was probably my best time I was playing football. And then not playing in the European final absolutely killed me. I couldn't deal with it. I could not deal with it. As a person, I just couldn't deal with it. I was angry, I was annoyed, I was upset. But I carried it. Instead of me talking about it, I carried it. Milk to mock this. I still could feel his anger towards certain people. And now when I look back, it was wrong. I should have looked at myself first and foremost before I blamed anyone else. But I remember just going into the last game of mock this the year we won the league. And I remember I'd be one for motivation. I love a talk, and I think that's where my emotions would come out. Instead of talking about things, I would always say stuff in speeches. I was known for it, I still get thick over it, but that was where I stood up, and that's where I was counted. I wouldn't be the greatest footballer, but in terms of leadership, that's where I thought I was number one at. So I remember standing in the dressing room and Wayside, knowing we had to win the game, and hopefully Bluebell mess up at the goals. But I just remember doing that speech, and in that year as well, I lost my best friend, my granddad. He was my dad. He was my person that always drove me. He talked to me all the time. He had a lot of brothers that lived over in the south side and bought the land in United, but they used to go to Corm Workman's Club, and used to always have one over them every Sunday night, going for a few points and say, I lost a bit this and lost a bit that. But he was the man that drove me, and I lost him that year. I didn't grieve, and I remember standing in that dressing room, and I looked at two of my really good friends, Carl Summons and Crockett, who had lost their dad just suddenly like that as well. But I don't know what came over me. I remember standing there and I just started crying when I was talking. And I brought the two lads into this and that, but I knew we could do it. And I said to the lads right at the end, I said, I don't care. So I'd break my leg out here if I have to. And won the league. I got an injury, which is ruptured the ACL. I remember doing it in the game with 20 minutes to go. I just got up and got on with it. And then a couple of months later. And then I just realised when it happened and I had to go and get the operation, I went into a different place. Oh my God. And it upset me even to think about now what I had done on people, especially my wife, and the anger, the separation away of, not being in the now, of being there. I went into a different place, couldn't drive for 3 months. Oh, it was horrific. That injury just changed. People that I thought were my friends weren't even around. And it made me actually stand and think, but it actually put me into a dark place, sitting there, lying there most days on my own. My wife would go to work, bring the two kids to creche and school. I was on my own. And you're lying there when you're on your own and you have these dark thoughts and you're really, really in a bad place, and everything comes up your past. I remember years ago, and I used to cry getting into my car after. I remember I got an awful lot of abuse when I sort of joined Collector at the time. I got abuse when I left Ballymun. I'm from Ballymun. I got a lot of abuse. My wife wouldn't go to games anymore because she heard this stuff going around. Just slagging off. And I always used to put it aside. I used to clap at people. But now, it did affect me. But I also got an awful lot of abuse. My brother at the time, which I loved a bit, came out as gay. I actually got horrific. I was getting private posts on Facebook by makes up, names and all this, slagging off my brother, slagging off me. I got it on the pitch. Sometimes some of my own teammates in Clester stepped in, heard it. Even happened when I moved to Crumlin. I think a couple of games when we played Cherry Archer at home, a Cherry Archer player said it to me. And I used to always get into my car, and because I lived in Ballymun, I was going from Clester thing, so it was a good thing. I used to always cry to myself. I was thinking, what is this all about? So them things lying on the sofa or lying in your bed when your leg is in bits and you're in a dark place, stuff that I never dealt with 2 years previous to that, or even a couple of years. So it's not that depression that came on to me now. It was depression that I probably always had, and I just never dealt with the issues I should have dealt with. I just pushed them away. and it drove me. But when you're lying there and you see other people, and you used to always think, I'll never ever think that way again. I used to always think when you hear, I know people that had committed suicide, I used to always think that's selfish, leaving the home mess there. But when you're in that position, then the way I was, I will never ever think like that again.
And how did you get through that period, Ross? Because obviously it sounds like it's something that you were carrying with you for a long time, but then because of the injury and because of having that kind of period of not being able to play, that it probably all just came out at that stage. How did you get through that stage and kind of move on from that?
Yeah,
or did you move on, or do you move on from that?
Yeah, no, look, like anyone that does it, you're going to struggle day to day, but I'm in a better place where I can talk about it. I feel comfortable talking about it, but it comes to a point where your own family have to step in. My family stepped in, my wife stepped in, my mum stepped in, set me down. They knew I was struggling. I was angry. My own daughter, that's where it upsets me. She knew there was something wrong. She could see it in it. She's 15, goes to school, so she knew they work a lot on their skill. And that was the hardest point, because she came to me and she told me she knew that I was struggling. Where I went and got help. And without that help, I don't think I would have been there, because I was on the brink of just having enough stuff that I'd done in my past, and family stuff that I just couldn't get rid of. The guilt. That guilt, it's a big word, guilt, that I just couldn't get around my system. I just could not get around my system. I couldn't open up. But once I opened up, and the people that looked after me, the people I went to see and talked about, but without family, I think that's the number thing. But also, I went back to people that I really got on well with within the football circle that gave me a hand, because that's all I knew was football circle. And that's why I think we football clubs, Leinster Senior League, leagues, we all need to step up to the mark here.
Definitely.
In terms of being more vocal, being more organised, being more, it's okay putting up posts of videos and everything else and sharing and everyone else and telling people. But I think we need to be, there in front of people. I'd do a few bits and pieces for the people that I had went to see and given a few talks and all that. I'd love to get involved in something. I think it's time that I get back, but also, even if I can help someone now and go, okay, there's my number, ring me, or go and talk to a few clubs and a few teams, because what I feel is now, and I know me and you had talked about it last week when you asked me, I think the difference between my generation probably back then and now is, one is commitment, but also the youngsters. I see it in my own nephew struggle. He had struggled, grand, got through with this now, but there's too much social media, too much demand on the young generation now in terms of jobs, college, money, and then you have everything else on top of that, drugs, gambling, which is a massive thing. Where I see it, massive in terms of young people. And that's when I know I said to you asked me what the difference was, where back then you used to always have people training, but now it's hard to get the youngsters out training. It really is, because they just don't want to do. They want to party or they want to do everything else. But I think us as Leinster Senior League, I think they need to do a bit more in terms of more, vocal on it. I think you've been around a lot of clubs. I don't see enough posters. I don't see enough, stuff to say mental health. It's all right to talk about it.
Is it a case, Ross, of maybe clubs appointing liaison officers that people can talk to, or maybe even a member of every team?
I think we need to do that. That's one thing I'd love to get in behind, and someone that feels like that's strong enough and probably has gone through it within each club, that can be a vocal point for someone to talk to. As I said, I think that's what puts Joey Gray and Jerry Smith and Martin Loughlin, no disrespect to any of the younger managers, ahead of everyone else, because they always used to be there. Doesn't matter what it was. They were there and listen. I think there's too much going on now when, managers don't have enough time, because there's so much to manage. They're managing everything now at the moment. There's not enough people within clubs, I feel, that you'd hear and going, oh, well, he's an officer for mental health. Don't see it. You go around a lot of clubs, I don't think you see it.
No, I think you're right, and it's definitely something that I know from speaking to people on the Leinster Senior League committee that it is a big focus for them, and it's something that they want to keep on promoting. And look, it's been great to talk to you about it this evening. I really appreciate you opening up the way you have, and hopefully that will. But by doing that, it'll encourage other people to, just to reach out to people and talk if they are struggling. I think everybody goes through different stages of their life where they will struggle, and it's great to have people be open and honest about that, and be willing to talk about it, and I really do appreciate it. Just to kind of finish up, Ross, you obviously you're kind of moving into coaching. I know you said you haven't hung up the boots, but you're kind of moving into coaching.
Yeah.
Have you, where has that gone so far, and where would you like that to go in the future in terms of your coaching career?
Look, as I said, I'd always seen myself doing something else, so I don't know anything else. But I had set this up a couple of years ago where I'd done a few local teams have asked me in, and I just got a couple of years ago they asked me in to do a bit of coaching for them. Did it pre-season, enjoyed it. So I started doing my badges, so I have up to the youth there.
Oh, excellent.
But I always feel that people always go, and that's another pressure thing of, you have to get a badge. You have to get your UEFA B, your UEFA A. Why? That's the way I look at it. In time, maybe I will do it, but I feel I can go anywhere, talk to people. The way coaching is done now is a lot online, everything else. So I've worked under UEFA A managers, coaches, and some of them, I'd be honest and say, are not good enough. Some of them weren't good enough. Some of them didn't last long in clubs. So I don't, people always think, you have to have them to get a job or anything else. I personally don't feel that you do. I personally feel you should get a job on your personality, what you're actually going to bring to the table. And I know when it comes around, I'm driven to succeed. But also, I took all the stuff that I'd learned through Joey Graydon, Joey Maloney, even Martin Loughran, Jerry Smith. Yeah, take little bits and pieces out of that. That just makes you better. But we will be looking to do some badges even on, and now do be structured in UEFA D and UEFA C, I think. Yeah, I will do them. I plan to do them next year. And then we'll see what happens after that. But yeah, it's something that really interests me, coaching, managing. At the moment, I love them coaching.
Just a final question on that. Would you see yourself more as a coach or as a manager?
It's hard because people used to always say to me, see you as a manager. But since I've been doing the coaching, especially being at it really the last year, really, really enjoyed it. Enjoyed it down at Airfield. Things didn't work out there for certain reasons. Don't want to get into it. But even down at Carrig now, enjoying it. Enjoying doing the day-to-day, as they call it, day-to-day stuff when you're in. I wouldn't like just to stand there and be a manager and go, let the lads take the train. I just like being hands-on. So, yeah, at the moment, I didn't think the coaching would have come into me, but I really enjoy it. That's not to say I don't want to do both or I just want to do one, but I'm just going along at the moment and seeing where it works. But I have to say I really enjoy the coaching and the things. But I have applied for jobs. I've no problem throwing out there. I had been offered a lot of jobs that were up in the leagues, and some of them too far away. Some of them just didn't suit me at the time. And I turned it down. Once came back to me and asked me, have I got your UEFA A? And I'm looking down. Well, your manager that had UEFA A before that, didn't work out. The one before that had UEFA A, didn't work out. So I don't get it. I don't get it when it comes to badges. I think it's about your personality. I think it's about your person that's going to actually come in and do a job. That's what it comes down to.
Definitely. Look, Ross, I've enjoyed watching your career progress over the last long number of years, and I'm looking forward to seeing where it progresses in the future. Thanks so much for coming on the show today. It's been a real pleasure talking to you, and I look forward to speaking to you again soon. Thanks so much.
No, thanks, Derek. Thanks very much, and cheers for asking me on. It does mean a lot to even just open up there, and hopefully someone actually can take something from me,
Definitely. I'm sure that'll be a help to people listening. Ross, thanks so much. Okay, so that was the interview with Ross Carrig there. Huge thanks to Ross for coming on to the podcast and being so open about his own struggles with mental health, and hopefully that will help some people to open up themselves and talk to some of their teammates. Andy, from your own perspective, obviously you'll have played against Ross down through the years. Have you ever played alongside him for any representative sides?
No, never good enough.
But obviously he's had a great career.
Yeah, look, he's a good lad. I think most LSL players and those that are kind of active on social media will be aware of him. He's a good lad, and obviously very, very brave of him to open up about his own mental health issues. I think we're seeing more and more of it. Obviously there are great social media sort of campaigns going out there at the moment. I watched a video. Gary Dempsey there, ex Greystones manager, he put out a great video there last week, and I think it's up to 25,000 views or something alright that, and it's just brilliant that people like this, like Ross, such a big name in the amateur game, are coming out and speaking freely about it. It's actually really, really admirable, and it's good to see. All it takes is just for one person to hear it, and if it means they're opening up to their friends or to their family or whoever it is, and if it helps that one person, it's one person helped, and it's brilliant. It's great stuff.
Yeah, and I think like Ross's message as well was like we all need to do a little bit more to encourage clubs, encourage leagues to get involved, to kind of encourage people to talk, because I think that's the big thing. Like Ross said in the interview, when you kind of bottle things up for a long period of time, it does affect your mental health. But by being able to open up and talk to people about it, it definitely helps. So hopefully, by listening to Ross and others who've spoken about it in the past, it'll help them. And look, we'll continue to kind of bang that drum on the podcast as well. So like I said, really appreciate Ross coming on and and talking to us about that. Is there anything else before we finish up, Andy, that you wanted to touch on?
Just a big one that's sort of close to us at the moment, and it's really kicked off on social media this week, is the Christmas toy appeal that we've put on all of our social media. So Bluebell, Crumlin, Kingswood, Transport, Rosemount, Castle Celtic, the Mixer podcast. In fairness to the lads, Eric, he did a great intro and outro on the podcast this week.
I did listen to that. It was very good.
Yeah, brilliant. And all it is it's just Our Ladies Crumlin. It's a toy appeal. You can donate your list. There's a list of toys on social media, on Bluebell, my own, the Mixer podcast, and many, many others. And a big thanks to everybody. So many people have reached out, and it's absolutely fantastic. I had managers, Jer Rowe from Liffey's and all. He's going to speak to the lads. It's brilliant to see teams coming together, putting the rivalries, if you want to call it, on the pitch to one side for this great cause. It's excellent for everyone coming together, and I just hope we can get a good spin for everyone. We get a good few quid up, and the kids can have a really good Christmas. Obviously a tough time for the parents over the Christmas period. So look, if anyone can donate as little as you possibly can, you can reach out. You can touch base with myself. I'm at the bear_1 on Twitter, and I'll give you all the information. If you want to do it from a single donation, if you want to get the players together in the club, it's whatever you can afford. There's absolutely no pressure on it. All the information's online. Just reach out and we'll send it on.
Yeah, for a great cause there. And look, if there's anything more we can do to promote that, Andy, do let us know in terms of the show. Is there any dates that people should be aware of? Like, is there a closing date in terms of when people can donate by or anything like that?
Yeah, I think they're going to get all the toys on the 15th. Now, I might correct that on next week's episode, but at the moment, I think we're aiming for around the 15th. So Sunday the 15th, 2 weeks today. So
Okay.
if we can maybe aim for that, it would be nice. But as I said, reach out to myself. I can coordinate. I can arrange for anything to be collected, or any information to be sent on. So just reach out to myself.
Brilliant. The last thing, again, I'm going to bang the drum on this again, the LSL live score hashtag. If you're at a game this week, use the hashtag and keep us informed, and we'll give you a shout out on next week's podcast. Andy, as always, it's been a pleasure speaking to you. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks, Derek. I'll see you again next week.
Cheers.